I haven't been in here since all these changes.
That's cool.
Yeah, it smells like fresh. All right.
Good to start? Start. Do I need to tell them anything? To record, whatever? Good?
I think it's on. Let me send him a quick text, but he should be okay. Yeah, it just blinked. I think it's.
Okay. I think we're good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning Board meeting for the City of West Miami. Today is August 29, 2023. My name is Gustavo Ceballos. I'm joined to my left, by Eugenio Gonzalez and Natalie Milian. We'll go ahead and start with the first item, old business, approval of minutes. Does anybody have any comments or changes?
No.
I have two minor edits. Just the first page, change it to the July date instead of the August 29th date. And the last item, the discussion, was in regards to fences, not hedges. But no motion and no action was taken by the board on that item.
Okay.
If there are no other changes, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve it.
I can't second it because I wasn't at the meeting. Right? Or can
Yeah.
I? I can? Okay, I'll second it. I thought I couldn't.
Your presence not required for something ministerial like that.
Okay.
Typically, as long as you had a chance to review it and it looks accurate,
I did.
then you're good. Can I get a quick roll call? Or all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, we'll go ahead and move to new business. You guys want to call item?
All right, so on the new business, we have a variance hearing, agenda item number 1 here for property address 6500 Southwest 21st Street, West Miami, Florida 33155. The property owner Gustavo A. Rodriguez and W. Novia P. The applicant requests a variance to legalize an aluminum terrace addition to the rear of the house. The proposed terrace, if allowed, would have a rear setback of 10 feet to the property line from the terrace. The property is a corner lot, and the existing house has a front setback of 33 feet, where 25 feet is required by ordinance. The rear setback to the proposed terrace, as shown, is 10 feet from the property line, and the required setback is 15 feet to the rear property line from the existing terrace. The property has 7,280 square feet, and the applicant is requesting the variance for the terrace. Section 4.17, 4A.4 zoning ordinance 282.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Scott Janowitz. I am the attorney. I'm also a resident here of West Miami. We're here. This is actually a bit of a saga, and you're going to hear from Mr. Rodriguez, right? Yeah, is that you? Mr. Rodriguez here. What this is a saga from about 6 months ago where my client's next door neighbor wanted a variance, came before this commission, wanted a variance because he wanted to build a deck that was, I think, 20 feet instead of the code 15 feet. And notice came out, and my client was one of the neighbors that came before you guys, and I think it was either January, February, and said, well, listen, the deck is whatever code, but we do object to a variance. This commission at the time took no action on that and deferred it, and I don't think it's come back before you guys. Immediately, he turned around and he contacted Mr. Pena, and he goes, I want to report all my neighbors for code violations. So Mr. Pena and George, when they went out there and they looked at it, and they cited my client at the time for an improper aluminum structure, which was concerning to us because, quite frankly, there's always been an aluminum structure on the property, and so we went before the code violation, and they've deferred action. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but we went back and forth, and finally, Mr. Pena and I agreed to a deferral for 60 days to come before this commission just to get a variance. Because what has happened is, if you actually look at the jacket for Miami-Dade County, who obviously, as you all know, held the property records and all the permitting process for the city prior to 2014. When Mr. Rodriguez bought this, when my client bought the property, there has actually always been the aluminum fence on there. He's been paying taxes on it. He has the extra aluminum fence, the extra patio, the extra fence that was actually built in 85. Okay? Now, Granted, an
Pardon my
aluminum structure.
interruption, just
Yes.
confirming, are we talking about the aluminum fence or the aluminum terrace?
Terrace, sorry,
Terrace,
the aluminum
okay.
terrace, sorry. Not the fence, I meant the terrace. The aluminum structure, which there's actually notations in the county record jackets of 1975, 1986. Clearly there's, and he's been paying taxes on it. My client came to this city of West Miami in 2003. So obviously when he bought it, he got a survey, he took a look at anything outstanding, nothing was there. Saw that he actually had these additional structures listed on the property appraiser site and everything else and said, okay, there's not any issues here. And has been living there uninterrupted for 20 years under the same exact structure, has never made any changes to it. Now, the only changes he's made even to his property, I think, was a roof and something else, and even code enforcement in the city of West Miami never had any problems with it. However, they took a look, Mr. Pena and I discussed this, and they're like, well, this county doesn't have any permit information for the aluminum structure, but, the aluminum patio, but we do have it here. So that's why he said, just go and get a variance. So we're not asking for anything new. We're not asking to build anything new. We're actually and Mr. Pena has expressed to me that they don't have an issue with what's there. No one's ever said this is an improper structure, that it doesn't meet normal code, or that it would otherwise be illegal, just that we don't find any property records, permit information from 30 years ago indicating it was allowed. So we're just asking for a variance for what's actually there so that it's proper, so that we can then go back to code enforcement and they will then waive the fine for what was considered a improper structure from 30 and 40 years ago. And that's why we're here. Not to build anything new, just to give okay and credence and variance to the structure built 30 years ago.
I have a few questions, but I'll defer to fellow board members if they have anything they want to ask.
I don't have much.
I have just a few random questions. I'm looking at this survey, and it shows the back property line from the rear wall of the house as 15.71 feet. And then this structure is 12 feet. So why are we requesting a variance of 10 feet when this is only 4 feet from the rear property line? And frankly, I've been looking at these photos, I don't even think it's 4 feet. Is this not the rear property line, this chain link
That's
fence?
current. That's current. That was taken a couple of weeks ago, or last month.
That's what I'm saying. This is the chain link fence, that's the rear property line.
Yeah.
Is there an alley behind this?
No,
So the other side of this chain link fence is the other neighbor's property?
my neighbor's property, correct.
I'm just asking, how is this 10 feet? City?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at the same thing. I don't,
It just doesn't
I
make
don't
sense
see
to me.
it, yeah.
That's not 10 feet. Also, I am definitely not a contractor by trade, but this aluminum structure does not look to be 40-something years old. Or close to 40 years old.
Well,
I mean, all I can tell you is, and this is what I agree. I mean, we have had the same questions. All we know is
Yeah.
when it was originally done, which we have that record.
Can
So-
I see that?
Sure, this is the county, this is the whole jacket for it, and some of them are highlighted, I think, with the, and obviously you know how to read it, you'll find some of the years on them. If there has been a change
And as
prior
part
to
of the variance request, if the variance is granted, you're gonna go through the permitting process to get this permitted? I ask because these structures look like the entire structural membrane of this have been cut. These are missing posts here. I'm concerned this is an unsafe structure. I mean, it's not habitable, so I'm not exactly too overly concerned. Once again, I'm talking out loud. This is outside the purview of this particular board. I'm just talking out loud.
What we're doing, what I will tell you is we're gonna go talk to Mr. Pena, because quite frankly,
That may be a challenge.
Why?
Because Mr. Pena no longer works for the city, is my understanding.
Oh. Well, that's fine. I could talk to city manager. That's fine. And wow, when did that happen? Let's go. I'll take that offline at time. Okay. That's interesting news. I can tell you the reason we were even here is because there was the fine in place, and they wanted him to destroy the structure and pay the $350 fine for something that he's been living with for the last 20 years. So if the prior owner, I think there was an owner between 1990, if I look at the property records, the person who sold the property, Mr. Rodriguez, was from 1997 to 2003. And I think the last thing I have as a notation on regarding anything from the outside is 1996 from the county, if I remember correctly. So if that prior owner did something with it, we do not know. I don't have, obviously, that would be the improper, you know, the unpermitted work. All we have is my client buys the property, sees that it's there, sees it's in the property records, figures there's nothing wrong with it, because how else would he know really that there's an issue at the time? No one's raised that to him, and then we're here today. So.
That's the back. That's the side.
Oh.
There's this-
I'll be honest. My opinion, I don't think a variance is the appropriate thing here. The question that needs to be done is, if you have a legal nonconformity. If this property or this structure existed before the existing code was adopted that prevents its construction, then you have a legal nonconformity. You can maintain it, you can continue to use it, but that's a determination that city staff needs to make, I'm assuming in conjunction with their city attorney. Right now, the variance request is not even appropriate because you're not even requesting a 10-foot, you're requesting 4 feet at best. I've talked more than I should. I will defer to my board members if somebody wants to make a motion.
I mean, do we know if the city went out to review this? To measure and stuff, do we know? We don't have to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know,
I believe that the previous administration did go out there at one point, but I don't know what the outcome of that was.
right, I know they went out there because we were there with, is George gone too?
He's still here.
Okay, George was there.
Okay.
I can also tell you, I discussed this with city attorney at the code enforcement hearing, and he was in agreement with this process as well, to just get a variance, and that would clear out the fine aspect of it, because that's really what we're just trying to do. And then if there's something else that needs to change, gladly we'll do it and work it out with city. And we can now talk to whoever I need to talk to at the city. But city attorney said come here and get a variance, so that's why we're here. Though I understand the
My only concern is the variance being requested is not accurate. So, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Do we know what the actual variance request is?
what is that? Is that the
This
application?
is the title. This is agenda item 1. Says
Oh.
the proposed rear setback to proposed terrace as shown is 10 feet from the property line. We have determined that that's not even remotely close. I don't know.
Well, I don't know on the agenda item, because, I mean, obviously, we're not in charge of agenda.
Yeah, of
I only
course.
have the application, which we didn't specifically,
You requested a variance but didn't state
We-
what the variance is?
we requested a variance, yeah. We requested a variance and had well, we included the documentation that was included, which was, you know, that we had. So I don't know where the 10 feet specifically comes from. Because if you look, we didn't specifically say 10 feet, we just said, who did this? Okay, and we did take measurements of the structure, but not from the outside survey or anything else, so I don't know where the rest of it comes from.
So I will,
I mean, ultimately, we're asking, I guess, for a variance, not necessarily of 10 feet, we're asking a variance of any code for any impropriety for a structure that would have been built even past city codes, for a structure that's been there for at least 20 years.
do you understand my concern?
I do, and we're gonna go to city after this.
The
It's not-
difference between a legal nonconformity, that's a staff administration determination. That basically says, hey, I know my property isn't in compliance, but it was built when it was built, it was legal. And because of that, I can stay. This is requesting a variance from 15 feet down to 4?
4 feet.
That's a pretty substantial request. Once again, this board can grant it, and I'm open to any suggestions or.
I mean, can we take a vote perhaps pending the final review of the foot, like the measurement?
I mean, I think we have a couple different options. I don't know if there's somebody from the public that would like to speak. Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up, and please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Victor Rodriguez. My property address is 6520 Southwest 21st Street. I agree with the attorney. The saga started about 6 months ago when I came to the board to go ahead and request for a variance to give me 10 feet. I came here with my documents and architectural plans to go ahead and do this terrace, which was a dream of mine. I mentioned at the board that day that I'm planning on leaving this house to my daughter. The board here at that day thought that there was no, I forget what was the actual wording. But
Hardship.
Hardship, thank you very much. Well, the hardship is on my daughter because the house is, I'm planning on leaving for her,
Yeah.
okay? And I came today because I want to understand the legal aspects of how the city and how this board goes about voting on matters of this type. I don't have any issues with Mr. Rodriguez having his structure there. It was there even before he bought the house because I was an owner. I'm a resident of the city of West Miami for 34 years, almost 35. And I was very surprised when I came on that day because there were other individuals that Mr. Rodriguez brought over here who talk about a lot of things that I don't think had anything to do with the case. Because I was asking, again, just for the right to have a structure. Mr. Pena was the gentleman that was here before, he was the previous director, and I had spoken with him. And shamefully, all these houses in this block were constructed further back, which actually did not give us, any of the owners, the ability to do too much than to try to go ahead and work backwards. And that is the only reason why I came over here. But this whole thing, in a way, has caused kind of a riffraff. And I'm saying that is because I did go to the city the following day after being here, and I did speak with the director, and I said, I would like to understand the process because I see that the house in the corner, which is they're constructing, they have a 5-foot setback, right, from the property line. I noticed Mr. Rodriguez's property is the same thing. And I said, what happened to me? Why was I denied? And I've gone around the city and I've looked at plenty of homes that have that ability. They were, able to do that. Well, this caused riffraff between me and Mr. Rodriguez, who insulted me afterwards, okay, and insinuated a couple of other things which I'm not appreciative of you, okay. But I don't care if he has a terrace or not. I told him on that day, I really don't care. He could have his parties, whatever. He mentioned here to this board that day about people that rent homes and parties and noise and all of that. And somehow it implied that I was the cause of all of this, okay? I was also told, oh, your neighbors next to you make a lot of loud noises and they have parties and this and that. I stay at the house just to make sure that this and that. I did not feel it was excessive. I think people have the right to go ahead and wind down, have a glass of wine.
If I may,
Well-
I'm not sure what happened in the previous board meeting, but if we can kind of stay on topic
Okay,
on
so-
specifically
so-
why you believe it should or should not be allowed in a
No,
variance.
to
What happened
be
at your
honest,
board meeting
okay.
is not really relevant for the purposes of our discussion.
I
today.
understand, but it is something that happened over here. There should be
Understood.
some record, and I just want to understand the process. I'm here because I just want to matter the clear. The gentleman here said that I was the one, and I said I have no idea whether his terrace or his shed was in violation or not. I was only asking about why is it that I was not allowed to have one. That was it. Okay? Whether he has one or not, that's up to this board. I do know that tomorrow I am planning on going to code enforcement to go ahead and request why is it that I'm the only person, which that day was brought to my attention, that has provided an easement in that block. Okay? So I'm
Once again,
going.
sir, that's not relevant.
I
to
understand
the
that,
current request.
but it was brought to here as a matter of here, so if it's not relevant, I don't know why it was allowed then to continue, because kept
I
talking
don't know.
about it. I'm just saying that's all. Anyways, I have no problems with him having his shed or not. You close your door and that's the end of that. Thank you.
Understood.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back to the board. There's nobody else present. I don't know what the board's desire is. I think we have a couple different options. We can make a motion to approve, make a motion to deny, make a motion to defer, and have them correct the language and the request, or ask for more additional information and you can defer the item. I'm open to motions.
Would it cause you an issue right now if we deferred to get the correct measurement?
I mean, obviously, that's a simple request, so I can't, in good faith, say yes. The only issue is we're bouncing back and forth between two boards.
So then you have a right as an applicant to request a determination today, approval and denial. We're proposing a deferral. If you'd like to defer, we can defer. It seems like that may be the way that the board may be leaning. But if you want an answer today, that is your right to request it. So we can either vote it up or vote it down. It's up to you.
Given that there is also a change of building and city officials, we're okay with a deferral if that's what the board would choose. It would give us time to talk with new management about it, get those measurements, and figure out if maybe there's an agreement between everyone that you know, it's a legal nonconformity or it's a, you know, a variance still needed. That's fine if the board chooses. I mean, we would prefer the yes, but I'm not opposing
If
it.
the
I'm
board
not
wants to make
demanding
a
it.
motion,
Why, is
I
he,
mean,
is he
it-
currently being fined by code enforcement?
Yes, yes. That's the reason why we're even here. That's why we're here on the variance. That's how we got and started the process, is because they came back and they said, we don't see a permit, so therefore you're now being fined, and they've deferred that another 60 days pending the resolution of the variance in front of this commission, which is why we just really just would like the variance for what's already
Right.
there and move about our day and
No, I
talk with city if anything needs to change, but
If I may, I could, you know, I'm just looking off the survey and the pictures, I can give you an opinion as to where the setback actually is. It's you know, it looks to be approximately 3 or 4 feet. Whether it's 3 or 4 feet, I think is irrelevant. It's, you know, it's,
So it's a technical,
we could, I would think we could put the technical actual minimum setback that's measured at that point. If you can see on the survey, it's kind of at a slight angle, so there's a point on the east side of the terrace, which would be the closest point to the rear property line. Looks to be approximately 3 feet from the survey. We could,
Yeah.
if you were to approve it, we could find the actual number and include that. I don't think we would have to go out to the site. I mean, we can see, obviously the 10 feet is incorrect.
Yeah.
okay.
so instead of 10 feet, it would be replacing it with that number.
Yeah, it would be,
Yeah.
you know, 3 feet,
Whatever
4
that may be.
inches, whatever
Three
it
to
is.
four.
Yeah.
Good?
Hmm?
You okay with that?
No.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I will entertain a motion.
Is there a staff recommendation?
I think unfortunately, we kind of came into this today. So we don't have a lot of the background other than what we've heard
Now,
here today.
Given
Yeah.
that there's been like a
Yeah.
administrative change and all that,
Yeah.
is there a way to help them out because they're being fined? Is there a way to pause that so that we can clarify this issue and then not
Right, I
continue
would-
that code enforcement
I would
fine?
suggest to speak to code enforcement first. I was not aware that there was even a fine going on in this case. If you're willing to defer this item, we would have to send notices out again. We would definitely, I would like to, get information from our city attorney to properly guide and go from there.
Well, if they're not requesting deferral, somebody's got to make a motion.
In terms of setback purposes, I mean, looking at the survey, you can clearly see as Mr. Alonso was stating that, yeah, it does show to be like 3 to 4 feet in terms of that aspect, but
I mean, I'm inclined to approve it with getting the clarification on the measurements. I don't know if we have the votes, but
Make the motion.
I'm not sure what the motion should be because
It's a motion to
there's a
approve.
there's an arrow.
It would
there's
be a
an arrow.
motion to approve a motion to approve a variance to the as-built as it currently stands.
Because the structure already exists,
Yeah.
so it's just a change of the measurement of the feet,
Yep.
right? The setback.
Yep.
So, I'll make a motion to approve, pending the change of the feet, right, the setback
Yeah,
measurement.
okay. I
And
second.
also, I mean, I don't know if I can make it part of the motion, but suggestions to staff to help them out with the code enforcement
Right.
violations, because since
I
it's an
agree.
issue with the change of staff and all that, you should help them out to not continue fining them because of the changes that are going on.
I second the motion.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Okay.
Ms. Milian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ceballos?
Not that it matters, but for the purposes of everything I said, I think this should have been handled through a zoning determination of legal nonconformity, so my answer is no. Motion passes.
Item passes 2-0.
I talked to Mr. Pena about that, and he was like, no, no. I was like, okay. We'll go this route.
Is what it
Thank
is.
you.
Have a good night.
Oh, you too.
Anyone have any other issues or items to discuss? Nope.
No.
Hearing nothing,
Motion to adjourn.
have a good night, everyone.